Yes, I was indeed one of those grumpy, not wanting to be there. Bloody more work, how's this going to impact on me? And a lot of that comes from my own background. I was a reluctant worker, a reluctant learner, and therefore worker. Freudian stuff. And a lot of that is from the area I'm from. I'm from Liverpool. I'm stood here today in a shirt and tie. There's an old joke. What do you call a Scouser? A lad from Liverpool in a shirt and tie. The accused. I feel that way today. So yes, I mirror my learners. I was reluctant, didn't want to be there, but I have to say, yes, I am a convert. There was many witnesses, Graham, Janet, Rodney, that saw a little light go on somewhere for me during that first week of the course. And I've grabbed it and progressed with it, and can't believe I'm at university. Can't say I've been to university, if you know what I mean, but here I am. And it's fantastic. It really is a privilege to be here and represent what myself and my peers are trying to achieve. What are we trying to achieve? To improve the vocabulary and the numeracy on a daily basis, their daily vocabulary, their trade vocabulary. We have an ultimate goal of trying to achieve trade qualifications. But I'm passionate about if a guy can go from step 1 to step 2 without getting anywhere else, without achieving a trade certificate, should that not be praised? Should that not be recognised? Absolutely. Bet your bottom dollar. Empowering the prisoners. They need to realise that self-progress is great, self-learning is great. It doesn't matter what their peer group is. We've talked, or throughout the last couple of days, there's been an awful lot of talk about culture. The first culture we hit is a gang culture. So we'd have to break through that first so they can see that there are different pathways that they can take. If you like, we're giving them that skill or that knowledge or reigniting the learning to learn principle. I don't have a classroom. This is, in more ways than one, an alien environment for myself. So I have to create a mobile learning environment. 1 week we can be painting an 80-bed unit. That's more than 1 week's work, I promise you. Especially if my bosses are in here, it's at least 3 months' work. Or we could be painting notice boards, we could be painting basketball courts. No 2 weeks are the same, unless you're painting an 80-bed unit, of course. So we have to be creative. I devised at the top of the picture some mathematical dice. They have percentages, fractions, a normal dice numbered 1 to 6, and a dice with symbols, including the decimal point. The decimal point was purely placed there for Janet, for place value, because, as we know, everything isn't always nice and simple, so it's there. The brushes underneath are cut away. One of the things we had to do for the NCAL course was identify a learning goal with some students. I challenged my students to be able to name the parts of a brush. Really good way of showing them how the filament fits into the stock, where that is with the ferrule, etc., etc. Break it down, cut it in half so they can actually see where the different pieces are. Just a simple process that means an awful lot. This goes against the grain, and I'm going to have to sort of clip this on a little bit now. Graham was steadfast in his opinion that we shouldn't try to reinvent the wheel. Sod him. Throughout the training, a lot of instructors for measurement have used the metre square. I thought, how can I expand on the metre square? I don't have a classroom, I don't have any permanency. I'm here, there, everywhere. So I came up with the idea of the mobile metre square. It has, on the inside, different measurements. It also has how we calculate area, an example of, the methodology of that equation, and then an example, and also how we find the cost of paint. You can probably see it. Probably better on here. We also have the simple math symbols, and then pictured percentages, written percentages, their decimal equivalent and their fractional equivalent. On the outside of it, we also have a place value chart, and we also have an A to Z of trade terminology. The metre square, I admit, was my thinking and making it mobile. The ideas of everything else came from my prisoners. They got involved. They said what would help. How great is that, eh? That they came up with a learning and revision aid for themselves. It now sits on the picnic table during morning break, afternoon break. We set them little tests. They have to come up with 3 or 4 different trade terms from a specific letter of the alphabet. We're even now working on expanding this so they create their own definitions of the trade terms, and we're going to make a glossary, and I want to make a book of it so I can give it to every following prisoner that comes from it. So lads who don't have a vocabulary are creating a vocabulary that others will be able to understand too. Hugely important. I'll get rid of that. And it only costs $3 to make. I'm a friend to the government. Okay, so we're seeing the alphabetical side. Obviously it's about a trade skill. Before you see, well actually you don't really see so well on this, but horrible salmony pinks and bits, oh it's awful. Awful, awful, awful. So we changed colour schemes, and you can actually see that they haven't done a bad job. Painting door frames look nice and clean, nice and sharp. I've got a little bit ahead of myself. Okay, so I'm a convert. More importantly, the lads I'm trying to teach have become converts. I set out when I came from being a disciplinary officer to being a trades officer to try and set an example, to try and give them knowledge, to try and make a difference. If you like to be, very PC term, a pro-social role model. They're now wanting to be role models to their friends, their family, their peer group by the changes that they can see in themselves. Hugely important. So we go back in summary. What have we tried to achieve? We've tried to give them information. It's got to be relevant, it's got to be fun. And believe you and me, we have fun at work. I always have the last word. Unlike at home. Empowering the learners. As we talked about before, it's giving them that realisation that learning to learn is fun, it's good, it's worthwhile. Everything has to be contextualised. It's okay to want to push yourself. It's okay to want to develop. Why accept mediocrity when you can push the boundaries further and try and achieve something for yourself? And finally, before I hand over to Kushla, I'll go back to my main point. Yes, we have targets. Yes, we want to get them all the way through a trade qualification. And yes, we want to help them become the people that they can be, given opportunity. But most importantly, we have to celebrate and recognise any achievement and any progression. Thank you.